We have 7 new cases in British Columbia to tell you about, which brings our total to 39. To start off with, we have 2 new cases associated with the Lynn Valley Care Centre. Both of these cases are healthcare workers who were working in the area of the outbreak in Lynn Valley. They're both in isolation at home. There's been a number of testing being done on people with symptoms, and there are no new cases in residents of the Lynn Valley Care Centre, so that's good news. The initial person who was identified in the community as a care worker at the Lynn Valley Care Centre has been admitted to hospital overnight. She's in stable condition and is being monitored and cared for. 3 of the cases that we've detected today are travel related. One of them is a woman in her 60s who was on a tour in Egypt, and we think this is interesting. Another close contact of hers who was also on this tour is being tested and may well test positive as their symptoms just developed, so that's would not be surprising. We have heard from colleagues across the country, and particularly in Ontario to start with, that there's a number of cases in Ontario and Quebec that have been related to tours in Egypt, and so we are working with our federal counterparts to see if these tours are related. We know that there has been cases in Egypt on some tours with foreigners who are there as tourists, including some on Nile cruises, and my understanding is that part of the tour that these 2 people were on included a cruise on the Nile, so that's something that we'll be following up on in the coming days. Another travel-related case is a man in his 40s who returned from travel to Germany, and so the investigation on exactly where he was and what happened there is ongoing. He is in isolation at home. And finally, we have another travel related to the Grand Princess cruise, the one that was prior to the one that was just repatriated today, the one from the 11th to the 21st of February. And this is a man in his 90s who was on that cruise, who has tested positive and is in isolation at home. On a positive note, we've also had some people released from hospital, including, really pleased to say, the 80-year-old woman who's admitted to ICU at VGH is now released from hospital and is recovering at home. And one of the passengers of the Grand Princess, there were 2 that we mentioned, both in their 60s, and the male in his 60s has been released from hospital as well. And his travel companion remains in hospital, but is also in stable condition and doing well.
As Dr. Henry says, we're at 39 cases. Just to put them in context, 16 of them are linked to travel to Iran, 1 to Hong Kong or India. That's our case that happily, a woman in her 80s who was happily discharged today, 1 from Washington State. 8 are linked to the Lynn Valley Care Centre. Not all those are in or involved in the Lynn Valley Care Centre. There are 2 who are family members or close contacts of one of the healthcare workers. 3 from the Grand Princess cruise, which came back February 21st, 1 from Italy, 1 from Germany, and 2 to be determined. 24 are in Vancouver Coastal Health, 14 are in Fraser Health. As Dr. Henry has said, we have dramatically increased the level of testing this week. As you'll see when we release this data on Friday, we've done significantly more testing this week than in the previous 2 weeks, which themselves represented dramatic increases in testing. And we're now doing the tests and completing the tests at 5 sites around the province, although it is all under the auspices of the BC Centre for Disease Control.